Hi, I'm Ryan Cahoy, and today we are back in Spaceflight Simulator. Today we will be getting into an orbit. This is the new rocket that I have designed for our orbit, especially our old rocket, but it has this. It's called a Valiant engine. Its mass is 2 tons, thrust is 40 tons, its efficiency is 280 ISP. What is ISP? ISP is basically how many seconds can an engine producing 9.8 kilograms of thrust produce thrust with 1 kilogram of fuel. There's a really good video on this by the Hathy channel that I will put in the description if you want to watch it and learn more information about ISP. That's basically just the quick basics. Oh, and also about ISP, it's measured in seconds, not a percentage, not like 500% ISP or something and something. It's just measured in seconds. And the video that I just mentioned also goes into detail about that and how that worked. And beside that, all I've added is 2 fuel tanks, Hawk engine, that's what it's called. I'm not used to these names. 2 side detachers, nose cones, fuel tanks, more Hawk engines, all that cool stuff. Something to see down in the bottom is our thrust to weight ratio. I know I've already talked about it a bit. Basically, it's can your rocket produce enough thrust to get off the ground? Like, can your rocket, like, if your thrust to weight ratio is like 1, that means that your rocket can get off the ground, but that's the lowest and slowest point it's going to be able to get off the ground. If that was like 0.99 or 0.9 of a thrust to weight ratio, you wouldn't be able to get off the ground. So that's kind of like saying, hey guys, I'm gonna stack 1,000,000 tons of fuel onto a model rocket engine and see if it flies. Like, its thrust to weight ratio would probably be like 0.00001 or something. Like, it gets very weird sometimes. But right now we have a good thrust to weight ratio, which is 2.27, which we know is twice the amount that we need to get off the ground. Right now it says 0, but I believe if we turn these engines on, throttle, then we ignite, the thrust to weight ratio goes. And you might be wondering, why does it go up? That's because even though our engines produce constant thrust, as they're using fuel, our weight gets lower and lower, which means our mass gets lower and lower, which means that we go faster. Right now, we will not be talking about gravity turns, and don't get these confused with gravity ascents. Gravity turns are basically like the advanced orbits where you just go and not the that type of orbit. And as you can see, our collapses is not going as fast as it would in some rockets. And I believe that's because of how this gives us more of an atmosphere and more gravity. But I haven't really checked it yet. I should probably do that though. But I think it's that because the gravity in the drag in simple rockets was not the best. Like, I could see it working, but it wouldn't be like as like detailed as simple rockets. I mean, Spaceflight Simulator. Okay, I'm gonna quickly light the engine, and then yeah, and then we just burn sideways, and there goes our boosters. This allows us to again move our trajectory around the Earth, which allows us to get into a stable orbit. If there was like a really realistic game on this, there would be a part where I don't think it's in this. It might be. I don't think so though. In real life, the longer you stay in space, gravity pulls you down more. So if you put a satellite in space, it would eventually come down through the atmosphere and burn up. I don't think it's in this game, but it'd be nice to know if it was. I don't think so. I think I've tested this before, like a mobile version, but you never know. And then you might be wondering about that. Well, if that's true, how does the ISS stay in orbit? And that's just because it has RCS thrusters, which we learned about in things like part 6, which make your rocket go in a certain direction. And as you can see right there, we got a message saying you reached low Earth orbit, which means that we have an orbit. I believe low Earth is between like 150 and the atmosphere. So if your orbit was completely in the atmosphere, you wouldn't be able to get that advancement because you'd probably die of heat. But it's a nice thing to know once you get it. Yeah. And also, the reason I was moving my rocket as I went is I didn't want my orbit to be like just an egg orbit, as I call it. I think it's called an elliptical orbit. And yeah, elliptical orbit. If you have too much of that, that's sometimes a bad thing, because as you enter the atmosphere, it's sometimes more powerful because you have more downforce. But still, it can be dealt with, because if you have a rocket like this, your apoapsis is just going to keep on going and going, and your periapsis will not rise as much as it normally would. And our parts should be up. Whoa. Wait, they're going through the atmosphere. Okay, yeah, I've seen that before. It's a really weird game glitch. I think if we just slow it down, it might break. Or if I just switch to this. Yeah, that happens. 1 second. 5 or 30 seconds, I can get to that. Yeah, and then we're back in this. Yeah. That's basically the basics of an orbit. It's just a bit harder to do in Spaceflight Simulator because, again, there's more gravity. Again, as you saw, we needed more stages and we used more of our fuel. But now that we are in an orbit, we can slow down at the apoapsis. That was the worst slow time ever. Again, face the opposite. I went the wrong way. And just burn a bit. You want to just get a bit in there, because if you go too full force, your heat shield might break on like other planets, which is never good. Quickly detach, and oh gosh, that was cool. I've never noticed that. That was really cool. Like when those particles came out, I've never noticed that in this game. Okay, well, that was cool. I'm gonna again anticipate the angle. There's warp. I think I guessed correctly. was close. It's close enough not to die. That's the part we're aiming for. And as you can see, just like last episode, heat shield's getting hot. And there goes our other parts. That's not us exploding. It's some parts over there. But yeah, these heat shields are getting very hot. Like right now, we're up to like almost 2,000 C. I think that's around like 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's hot. That's extremely hot. And just imagine what it's going to be on, like, with a thicker atmosphere, too. Like, that's crazy to think about how hot heat shields can get. And that's what you sometimes have to worry about in, like, games like KSP. Where, like, if you break your heat shield, you're dead. Because you won't have a way to get home unless you use throttling, which you probably won't have enough fuel for. I'm gonna quickly just detach that. So it's crazy how hot these get. In KSP, the smaller the heat shield, the less durability it has. Like I've seen heat shields break on entry to Juno, which is Mars, and I've seen heat shields break basically everywhere. I've seen them break on Kerbin, which is Earth, but only when I go through multiple times. Like if I have my periapsis set too high in the atmosphere. Like if it's just right in there, it might temporarily go through and get me into another orbit, and then again. I've actually had that happen in Spaceflight Simulator, and it took a while to fix, but yeah. Well, now you know how to get to orbit. Thanks for watching. Don't let your heat shield